Welcome to Gulatkin's Torment, the attack of the doppelgangers. We will examine how perceptual ambiguities give rise to adversarial threats through examples that are indistinguishable, or as Leibniz initially termed them, indiscriminable. For example, these two images of a cat are indiscriminable, but are assigned different labels by MobileNet. We will call indiscriminable inputs doppelgangers. They are common, the phenomenal neighborhood of an input comprising the input and all its doppelgangers is almost never trivial, even if humans cannot directly observe its internal structure. The phenomenal neighborhoods define the perceptual topology on the space of inputs. Empirical evidence indicates that biologically plausible perceptual topologies are not manifold topologies. Thus, we can't really explain adversarial vulnerability with misalignment of manifolds. They're not even metric topologies. For example, the space of grayscale images is perceptually connected, but it's not a manifold because it fails the T1 separation axiom at many locations. Every discontinuity in a classifier's labeling function is vulnerable to an adversarial doppelganger attack. These inputs that contradict perceptual expectations form the classifier's region of conceptual ambiguity. There is no evidence that state-of-the-art deep learning models achieve true robustness. There are, however, countless instances demonstrating their vulnerabilities. In this presentation, we discuss fully populated classifiers. They do not have empty or vacuous classes, and we will refer to fully populated robust classifiers as regular classifiers. While the perceptual topology is not metric, humans have evolved mechanisms to estimate perceptual distance, enabling perceptual similarity judgments. The distance is linked to the perceptual topology but doesn't generate it. It is defined as the graph distance on a graph whose vertices are the inputs and whose edge structure is defined by the indiscriminability relationship. The distance itself is an extended distance, and in many contexts, the vertex set of the graph is a continuum. The doppelgangers of an input cluster around the input in close proximity within this perceptual distance. Ultimately, perceptual distance naturally frames a perceptual tiling where tiles are infinitely separated, enabling stress-free perception. The perceptual tiling is defined by the metamorphic equivalence relation. Two inputs are metamorphic if and only if the perceptual distance between them is finite, or equivalently, when they can be connected by a finite chain of doppelgangers. The perceptual tiles are just the equivalence classes of the metamorphic inputs, and the perceptual distance between any two different tiles is infinite. The structure of the tiling imposes restrictions on the existence of robust classifiers. For example, if the perceptual distance between any two inputs is finite, which implies that the number of perceptual tiles is 1, then every fully populated classifier with 2 or more labels must be ambiguous. More generally, if the number of perceptual classes is strictly smaller than an integer m, then every regular classifier with m or more labels is ambiguous. On the other hand, when the number of perceptual classes is at least m, then regular classifiers with m labels do exist. These robust classifiers have specific structure. The decision regions are disjoint unions of perceptual tiles, and there are no topological boundaries separating the decision regions. So how does one go about to find a robust classifier? One approach is to retrain the model to eliminate adversarial doppelgängers. However, this raises concerns about potential accuracy reduction due to the so-called accuracy-robustness trade-off, which is that accuracy must be sacrificed to gain robustness, and vice versa. Now, we investigate whether trade-offs do exist on the path to robustness. As a natural starting point, we focus on cases where the categories are unambiguous and well-defined. The more intricate case of ambiguous labels is beyond the scope of this discussion. The segmentation induced by the unambiguous categories defines a regular classifier omega with M labels, and the loss of accuracy of any other classifier R is caused by the misalignment between its segmentation and that of the reference regular classifier omega. This misalignment may or may not be a misalignment with the perceptual tiling. Crucially, in the later case, the classifier R is vulnerable to adversarial doppelganger attacks. Among all classifiers, the family of hypersensitive classifiers is the next best thing after the classifier defined by the conceptual structure. A classifier R is hypersensitive if every misclassified input can be attacked by an adversarial doppelganger. Improving the accuracy of a hypersensitive classifier will improve its robustness, yet one may be able to trade in accuracy for robustness. Conceptual recall rate measures the alignment of a classifier with the underlying concepts. If a classifier has sufficiently high conceptual recall rate, then it's automatically hypersensitive, and therefore there are no opportunities for trade-offs. If the classifier's conceptual recall rate is sufficiently low, then no label and no input are safe from an adversarial doppelganger attack, and therefore, once again, there is no opportunity for a trade-off. So if the labels are unambiguous and a trade-off is possible, then the classifier must have a somewhat mediocre conceptual recall rate. In conclusion, perception defines a topology and a tiling on the space of inputs. Adversarial vulnerability is caused by the misalignment between a classifier and the perceptual tiling. Robustness fails precisely when the classifier segmentation shatters a perceptual tile. In some contexts, secure neural networks or robust classifiers may not be achievable. No amount of adversarial training alone can eliminate the problem. In other contexts, robust classifiers do exist. The decision regions of these classifiers are formed by assembling perceptual tiles and lack topological boundaries. Finally, while accuracy-robustness trade-offs may not always be available, one might be able to trade in accuracy to gain robustness.